Dear students, dear members of the academic community, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to address my alma mater today, to celebrate with you the launch of the Brussels School of Governance. Let me, first of all, congratulate you with this wonderful initiative. Brussels is the capital of Flanders, the capital of Belgium, and the European Union. We are the host city of NATO and uncountable other international organizations. So the Brussels School of Governance doesn't come a day too soon. We are now ready to become an academic point of reference for public policy. It's quite impressive to launch a new school in the middle of a pandemic, but it is the right thing to do. It shows courage and vision. Never waste a good crisis, they say. And your can-do spirit is exactly what we need right now. Which brings me to the central question I was asked to speak about today: how to govern in a time of crisis. In answer to your question, I have three messages. Build a team, build a strategy, and always be transparent. First of all, build a team. Nobody owns the truth. The best results are achieved when each member of a group brings her or his best asset to the table. The COVID crisis is a good example of that. We were attacked by a new virus. In the beginning, even virologists didn't know how lethal or how contagious it was. But we managed to map the genome of the virus in a record time. Within a year, 3 vaccines are in production and 3 more are on the way. It was a cooperation on global scale between nations, between universities and private companies, between the public and the private sector, with R&D in one country and production in another. It is exactly this kind of all-encompassing cooperation you need in times of crisis. By bringing people together from different backgrounds, with different skills, with different walks of life. People with academic experience and life experience. Risk takers and risk-averse people. People from the city and people from the countryside. Black and white, gay and straight, women and men, and non-binary people. Because diverse teams are smarter teams. Because opposing ideas don't cancel each other out. They strengthen each other. It is important to be challenged in life. It makes you smarter and stronger. It obliges you to review your preconceived notions of what's right and what's wrong. Diversity is the way through which robust solutions are being built. It is the stuff good compromises are made of. Not by aiming for the lowest common denominator, but by combining the best of different worlds. Whether in Belgium, in the European Council, or in the United Nations. Compromise is not a dirty word. It's a secret power that moves the world forward. And once you have a solid team, you have to put it to work. That's my second message today. The team has to build a strategy, the bigger framework in which all your actions fit and make sense. Strategy creates predictability, perspective, and simplicity. 3 things that are on the complete opposite of what a crisis is. A crisis brings chaos, unpredictability, and adds uncertainty. Because it is in the loss of control that people get scared during a crisis. Let me use another example than the pandemic to illustrate this. The refugee crisis of 2015. The main problem was not the arrival of refugees as such. Europe is the richest continent in the world. Wir schaffen das, like Chancellor Merkel said. The reason we had a refugee crisis was because policymakers and politicians lost control. The refugees arrived and we had no plan, no strategy. Only chaos at the borders. First at our external borders, later within Schengen. That was the real crisis, the feeling that we were no longer in charge of our territory. That event dictated us and no one was driving the bus. The strategy based on values is the only way out of such a crisis. These values will ground you and will guide you in the midst of a chaos. But perhaps even more so, these values remind you of the fact that every crisis is also an opportunity to build something better, to build back better. In the COVID crisis, the values and principles we outlined were the following: protecting our healthcare systems and preventing it from collapsing. 2, recognize the link between keeping people healthy and keeping the economy healthy. The better we protect people from the virus, the better we prevent our economy from shrinking. And lastly, we wanted to give people the maximum amount of freedom by taking into account the virological impact of human behavior and of our measures. Every single measure the government took can be explained by these 3 principles, and it guided us throughout the difficult months of the second wave. The strategy also helps you to communicate effectively during a crisis. And that's my 3rd message. Always be transparent in your communication. Reality is messy. New information is coming in all the time. You have to recalibrate continuously while maintaining public support. The only way to do this successfully is by being transparent about your reasoning and about your motivation. Whether we are talking about COVID measures or bailing out banks during a financial crisis or welcoming refugees. Honesty and transparency is the only sustainable policy. Because in times of crisis, you need to build trust. People will recognize your honesty, will trust you, and will follow your lead. Ladies and gentlemen, a country cannot have enough young people who are willing to use their energy for the common good. That is why I am so enthusiastic about the creation of the Brussels School of Governance. Because we need young people who want to use their privilege of education to a better society as a whole, to further the cause of others by being empathic and driven by the public interest. That's perhaps the hardest part of good governing, not being wrapped up in the day-to-day business of it all, remaining aware that your actions have a profound impact on the lives of others, to take sufficient time to pause, stop, and reflect. It sounds easier than it is. The decision to close our borders with the UK days before Christmas is a good example of that. It was the right thing to do from a health perspective. It fitted our strategy, our values. We wanted to act fast because time mattered. But the consequence was that thousands of truckers were stuck without sanitary facilities. That was unacceptable, but we initially missed that human aspect. I learned again that reality is often messier than the theory. But you cannot govern well without the theory. It is the very start of it all. It is what this new school is all about. That is why I am a proud alumnus of the University of Brussels. My warmest congratulations to Rector Caroline Pauwels, to President Karel de Gucht, to the faculty and staff of the school. And good luck, of course, to all of the students. I know these are not easy times for you, but we count on you, on your ideas, on your energy to move the world forward. And always remember, the best is yet to come. Thank you.